Todd Schmink from Aquatherapies. I'm just going to be walking through real quick the application of chain analysis. If you downloaded the paper that talked about this, I felt like throwing an extra video on top of it because sometimes just reading the words isn't good enough. So hopefully this quick brief will give you a better understanding of how to utilize that tool. So what chain analysis actually is, it comes from the dialectic behavioral therapy toolbox. Originally this would have been more of an ABC model, antecedent behavior consequence, which you would find in cognitive behavior therapy, and of course behavioral therapists. The B in both CBT and DBT is the behavioral piece, which goes all the way back to Pavlov and a lot of the behavioralists when it first started in the 40s. It's gotten a lot better since then, and it's one of my absolute favorite tools, and now you'll see why. First, we identify the problem. So, the behavioral problem. What is the problem behavior that you don't like? It can be drinking, it can be smoking, it could be yelling at my kids, it could be not getting things done on time, not waking up on time. And we can use not waking up on time as a way to show you how this actually works. So the problem behavior will be not waking up on time. But like I said, you can put just about anything in there. Panic attack, was afraid. There's a lot of different pieces that we can play with. But let's just go with not waking up on time. So we're not waking up on time. That is the problem behavior. And of course, I don't need to give you a ton, but right after here would be consequences. Right? So we have consequences. I'm sure you can come up with plenty of your own. So, consequences. That is an important aspect of this to just help to motivate you, but like I said, you can think of why. If you're not waking up on time, I'm sure you can think of a million reasons what the consequences would be, such as not getting to work on time, and if that became a habit, losing your job. So let's go to what happened before not waking up on time. And you'll be like, well, what? I was sleeping, and I just didn't hear the alarm. Sure. But let's go back and look at the environment. What happened, let's say, the night before? So while you were still awake, what was happening when you were conscious? And you tell me, oh, I was out. Out with friends. So you were out with friends. This would be the environment that kind of set up everything to move into the not waking up on time the next day. And I'm keeping this incredibly simple, but you can also, like I said, utilize this for panic attacks. Now, this is called chain analysis for a reason. It's a bunch of links between what happened here and what happened there. So I'm going to go ahead and just set up a couple bubbles. You could do 20 of these bubbles if you want, or these links if you'd like, but I'm only going to keep this relatively simple. We're only going to make just a few. When it comes to not waking up on time, there's probably not a ton of links that we can put here. And in the next example, I'll do a little bit with the panic attack, since that is one of the bigger reasons why people come in to see me, and it's a very useful tool for that. So, out with friends. And so what we want to do is, inside of this box, inside of these links, we want to look at 5 different things. We want to see what was the feeling, what was the sensation, what was the thought, what was the action, and what was the event. So you want to keep that in mind. It's either these links are going to be a feeling, a sensation, a thought, an action, or an event. Out with friends, at bar defines the place a little bit better. So the more specific, the more links we have, the better off we are. So you're at the bar and you had a bad day. So outside of here we have vulnerabilities. And you had a bad day at work. Bad day at work. Bad day at work. What were the sensations? I was stressed. I was tired. So we'll just go with you were on edge. What does that feel like? So that's a common one. What was the sensation? Not the actual emotion. What was the sensation? And on edge, So it would be jittery. Or maybe you were slightly shaky. Like blood sugar was low. Maybe the blood sugar was too low. Physical sensations. Maybe you were tired, you felt heavy. So that would be the actual sensations going on. You know, the thought was I had a bad day, or the thought was you were thinking about something you could have done better. So we could put that down. Could have done better. That's your thought. Then your friend offers you a drink. There's the event. Add a drink. Boom. Then you're out with friends. It gets away from you. There's a whole bunch more of these links, and then you get home late. That would be an event, which then, even with your alarm on, you don't hear it. You wake up late. There it is. So in the simplest form, the more of these we can get, if we can break one of these links, the whole thing should collapse. At the very least, we should be able to decrease. So maybe you wake up 5 minutes late instead of an hour late. Maybe you sleep in just a little bit longer, or you fall back to sleep and then you roll back out of bed. And we can even come up with strategies having more than one. So when we see what your pattern is, we can come up with alarm clock number 1, alarm number 2. And we put alarm number 2 on the other side of the room and we make it ungodly loud. Unless, of course, you live with somebody, then you're going to need to come up with a different strategy. All this gets factored in. But we can go back. So you're on edge, you come in. So what if, before you showed up for your friends, if you were feeling on edge, if you simply, now we come up with strategies to deal with this. So we go, I'm on edge, so maybe you go for a walk before you show up. Maybe you do some mindfulness techniques. And I do a lot of mindfulness techniques in session. I try to give people, if we can raise your awareness of what's going on, then you have the ability to actually act and do something about it. So you're jittery, you're shaky, you're heavy. Well, did you eat? So we could take a look at that. Maybe on edge and the jitters have nothing to do with what actually happened this day, but it has more so to do with you didn't eat anything. So you could order food when you get to the bar with your friends, right? So you can grab some food. There are also other techniques. There are the emotional dysregulation type techniques that we can play with. And you can learn more about. But one of them is simply just changing the temperature, going outside where it's cooler, standing outside for a moment where it's cooler, taking 3 deep breaths. But changing the temperature would be a way to bring everything down and make things feel a little bit less on edge, a little bit less. You're probably flushed would be another sensation. You could say you felt flushed. Could have done a better job with that today. Well, there's where we could actually do some processing, some CBT skills. We could walk through and do some experiments. Do you do this all the time? Do you always mess up this particular piece? If you do, what kind of course of action can you take to go back and readjust that? And then you have a drink. If you know that that's going to lead to less inhibitions and having more than one drink, and we would have to get into some detail there, we might be able to curb that, or at least have it so that you have a drink, then you have a glass of water, then you have a small drink, then you have a glass of water, or you limit it. So there's multiple ways, and it's pretty much up to you. So I like to listen to you and find out what's going to be realistic. That's what makes this work. And then finally we get home late. Well, maybe you set your alarm. So we come up with more strategies. And then what happens then is if we can go into any one of these links, and like I was describing earlier, by doing that, let's just say that when you got there, instead of going right into the bar, you just simply strolled up the street, turned around, walked down the street, or you found a park bench, or you sat in your car with the window open, and you just simply did a mindfulness technique, allowing everything to just pass for the day, accept that it's done, and then commit to just moving on, you would have a completely different mindset when you walked into the bar. You'd be able to enjoy your friends. You wouldn't be drinking to self-medicate. You would be drinking to just drop your inhibitions a little bit so that you could have a nice time. And then maybe you wouldn't be having 3 or 4 drinks. But let's just say that that's what occurs. If we can break that link, then the whole chain collapses. I'd highly recommend finding somebody who does DBT work or behavioral analysis work or somebody with CBT background that can walk you through this and do a chain analysis or do an ABC, and that'll really help you to focus. The chain analysis is actually a little bit better than just a typical ABC, because it's going to give you all the steps in between, but with that in place, you should be able to tackle just about any outside behavioral problem. And if you want to work with me, you're at the website, so just please send me an email and we'll do what we can to get you set up, and we'll start working on whatever those triggers are and try to put out and make your pattern look more like this. No problems at all. Thanks again for listening to one of the Wellness Talks on Aquatherapies. My name is Todd Schmink.